Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining the Run Your Day podcast. My name is Dan Hafner. As always, got another great episode for you this morning. Today's topic is this: against the grain. Thank you for joining. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, where our goal is to expand your focus and perspective on life. This is your daily dose of motivation, mindfulness, and so much more. And now, here to help you take your day back, your host, Dan Hafner.
All right, so against the grain, inside of this topic of the week of the X Factor. This is an episode that it kind of just sums up all of the other episodes that the topics that I've talked about this week. Being against the grain is basically being a maverick, right? Being somebody that is different, just all around different. Differentiating themselves in a market or as a person to be something that is a particular and unique value. Declaring yourself, making your mission known to someone and to the world that you are a particular brand. You are a particular way. You are against the grain. It almost is like a chair, right? With some of those chairs that have like the velvet or like that fabric, and you push it all one way, it turns one color. And then if you push it back the other way, it turns the other color. I don't know if I always played with those as a kid. I still do, admittedly. But if you push those one way, that is the grain. That is the norm of society. That symbolizes the accepted way of doing things, right? It all goes one way. It's just always been that way. Whatever it is, it just all goes one way. And you take your finger and you go and you do a stripe down the other way. Those are against the grain. That should be you. What can you do to be against the grain? What can you do to stand out? That just goes back to what I talked about yesterday in standing out in a world of boring. How can you capture that attention? How can you stand out? You won't be noticed in anything, in your fitness, in your business, in your job, if you do what everyone else is doing. You just won't. It's just common sense. I've had several jobs in my life, and I've learned this almost at every one of them. You don't get noticed if you just do what is expected of you. If you just do what everyone else and the guy next to you is doing. You have to differentiate. You have to develop your own. A lot of people talk about developing your own personal brand, and that should not be just something that you are known for. That should be something that is against the grain. If you really, truly want to stand out, if you really, truly want to differentiate yourself and declare yourself inside of that world that you are in, it's doing what others aren't, doing what others aren't willing to do, going that extra mile that I've talked about before also, and capitalizing on those extra actions that you are taking, or that extra work that you are putting in, because you're going against the grain. I notice this every single day when I get up and go for a run in my community. I am the only person awake. I wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock some days. That in itself is against the grain. Everyone else is sleeping. Everyone else is, probably stayed up the night before doing whatever they're doing till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. And here I am going to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night so I can get up early, start kicking ass, get after it. And I am so much further ahead when it comes to 8, 9 o'clock in the morning than 90% of the people that I know, because I'm willing to sacrifice that. I'm willing to be against the grain. I'm willing to stand out. And that takes guts. It takes knowing that you may be ridiculed, you may be thought of differently, you may be hated in some things that you do that are against the grain, and you have to be okay with that. You have to, even those closest to you might think less of you for something. They might think differently about you, and it's being okay with that, accepting that fact and that reality, and realizing that, if those people aren't willing basically to accept you or accept that you are changing something for the better, then maybe they really weren't, they shouldn't have been that big of an influence on you to begin with. And I realize this is hard to hear because some of those people can be your friends, your family, and that's tough. I know it is. Believe me, I know that is. But if you're going to be against the grain, if you're going to stand out, there are going to be people out there that are going to hate. They say that for a reason. Haters going to hate. Like it's true. But you have to be okay with that. And it takes time. It takes time to come to that place where you can accept that as a reality and move forward. It is tough. It is very tough. But being willing to be seen in a different light is a powerful, powerful thing. Because you know that you have been shaped by your reality your whole life, right? You have shaped your life through your decisions and your actions. Now all of a sudden you want to change all this stuff. Well, people are going to be like, hey, aren't you like, they know you as you are this guy that does X, Y, and Z. And now all of a sudden you're doing A, B, and C. And people are like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Like people are used to the same old, right? And sitting there and trying to explain this to all of them will just drain you more. It will take up time that you don't have. It'll take up resources and bandwidth that you don't have. And it will just frustrate you. So if you know you need to do something, maybe it is against the norm or out of the ordinary, don't be afraid to do it. There are so many things in this world that were against the norm and against the grain when they were started. I mean, look at Apple. Like that was a completely maverick thing. And it's the first $1 trillion company ever now. Like that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible what that was able to become, even with the odds that it faced when it started. But it was that differentiation. It was that differentiation that they were willing to go after in the marketplace that secured their future and their ability to grow and expand like that. So think about this today. Here's my daily challenge for you. How can you start to accept the fact that you might be doing something out of the normal, against the grain, against what is accepted or seen as regular? Are you doing something like that? And if you are, how can you accelerate what you are doing in that area to be even more radical, even more crazy? Because that is what captures people's attention. Not the normal, not the boring, the crazy, the insane. Like, why did people watch Evel Knievel? Because that guy was crazy. They're like, can this guy actually pull this off? That was a guy that was against the grain. Think about this. Inside of your world, inside of your fitness, inside of your business, inside of your marriage or your parenting or whatever it is, what are you doing that might be seen as different? How can you start to accept the fact that, you've seen that you might think that it is different and people think worse of you for that? How can you start to think that maybe this is okay and this is something that is even better in the long run? And how can you accelerate that? Okay, so that's your challenge. What are you doing How can you see it in a different light? And how can you accelerate what you are doing inside of that to go against the grain? So that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you again very, very much for listening. This is the Run Your Day podcast. My name is Dan Hafner, CEO and founder of RunWage, and I wanted to give everyone an update here on what is going on with our app. I am currently working on it night and day. It is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be great. Be sure to check us out. Once we get that up, I'm going to keep posting some stuff here, or at least start posting some stuff here and talking a little bit more about my progress inside of that. We have a Twitter page. We have a Facebook page. Be sure to follow us. Keep updated on what's going on with that. We're going to start deploying an email list here shortly so you can get direct updates and content into your inbox through RunWage. So I'm very, very excited for it. It's going to be great. Be sure to stay tuned. And again, thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.